No, thank you, PK. Thank you again for the kind invitation. This talk really bothers me because I realize just how little I know about thrombectomy devices. There's a billion of them out there, and so hopefully you'll get something out of this. For my disclosures, nothing germane to this talk for once in my life. Clots, we were just chatting about them. Thrombosis, you can have acute in situ thrombosis, which is becoming more germane. I always used to think that it was kind of the rarity, but I think it's happening more often. Then there's subacute thromboses, and then there's chronic thrombotic events. And then there's the thromboembolic event, which is, the classic is the AFib, little old lady with pink shoes, so to speak, who ends up with a cold leg. The issues, as was described, are just not the identification, but just have a working knowledge of the potential source and the ability to remove. What are the remedies? Remedies, if you think about a pendulum, they run from aspiration through lysis and then combination therapy, and all have pros and cons, but all have good and bad with them. And the complications are really when you try to grab something at a siphon point, i.e. the popliteal siphon, and you get behind it, but then you mucker it up, or you take a portion of it, you take a big thrombus into a small thrombus, and then you're chasing your rear end all the way down to the foot, and you've made a clot worse and a complication for the patient. And when they go distal, in many ways they're non-retrievable. Then you're relegated to long-term lysis to try to get yourself out of some potential risk. So the considerations, all catheter technologies utilize either aspiration or for delivery of drug, or both, to eliminate or capture thrombus. There's a bunch of different mousetraps out there, and you just gotta, I'll show you some lists, but there's a ton out there. And what operators need to be is become facile with whatever device they choose, whatever is good in your hands, get good at it. And then have the ability to troubleshoot it for any complications on the device with the procedure or the technology, and then have a successful outcome. You want to get in, and then get out. That's the egress of the patient. Operators need to know the indications and the uses, the IFUs for any one device, and generally know or become familiar with more than one singular device. When it comes to pure arterial devices, there's a couple out there. This is one from Surmodics now called Pounce Thrombomatrix, an 018-035. They have working Lexa 135 to 150, and they are 7 French. And this is a capture filter with a kind of a negative suction, which then brings in the entire clot to the catheter and removes it. Why is that important? It's a pure arterial system. They have an AV system, but this is the pure arterial system, which is where they started. For pure venous devices, you have the angiodynamic AlphaVac, which used to be called Vortex. It's a behemoth of a system, 25, 26 French in the old days with a big old hood. It was a perfusion system. Talk about a dog and pony show. For clots in transit, you needed us in cardiology or the interventionalist. You needed a perfusionist out of the OR. You needed TE guidance in many respects just to watch the clot move or captured. And then you needed anesthesiology to get everybody to sleep. So that was really a big event. Now with AlphaVac, they've taken away the perfusionist, and still it's a bit of a dog and pony show. We just did one in Long Island for this tricuspid valve vegetation and retained system that was the source of the endocarditis. And then Pounce now has an AV system, 018, 90, and 10 French. BD has the Aspirex system, and something that we used in Boston before I left was the Bashir catheter, kind of a simple early design dilation with ports on the, basically looks like a IVC filter, but that's where you deliver drug. You macerate some of the clot, and then you deliver lysis to the clot in a high level. Where everybody lives is arterial venous, and so this list is by no means supposed to be complete, but you have the Abbott Jedi system, which can run from an 018 or 010 wire to an 038 wire, working shafts up to 120 to the BSC Angiojet, which we all kind of grew up with. I still have the original Angiojet pamphlet, which was actually a book, came out of the Beth Israel with a lot of cases, as well as an Ochsner. the BSC ECOS catheter, the Innova system, the Inaris, which we have all been using for the FlowTriever or ClotTriever, Penumbra, and is the Indigo system, which goes from small to large, and they have the Cat 4, 5, 6, 7, you name it, all the way up to 17 or 21 now, and 26. The Philips system with Quick Clear, Surmodics back with Pounce in the AV system. And then you have the Argon cleaner and the control systems, which all have various modalities. I'm not recommending one or the other, just get good at one, try them out, and try to figure out what you want to do. Again, facility with the device, but more importantly, how it works in your hands is all that matters. What I say is irrelevant. What you have in your hands is what's more important. So thrombectomy today really has become a pendulum, in my opinion. We've gone from core everything to deliver drug for everything, and now we're kind of settling back into the middle, which is where we should be with combination therapy. Whether it's directed or aspiration or a combination of both is really what the device does for you. I honestly believe that less trauma remains a principal issue. Some of these devices do deploy a filter or a system, a bag system, which tends to get dragged up. So more shots on goal, as I call it. When you capture thrombus, you want to bring it out in toto. You don't want to disrupt it or break it. As long as that works in your hands, and that's a good idea. But trauma to the territory, whether it's arterial or venous, is going to be the key that you want to avoid. And removal of thrombus and leave the artery and vein intact is ultimately where you want to be, and don't screw with that. The next generation of, there's an attempt to transition catheter and lysis without compromise, and that is on efficiency of thrombus removal, which is really critical, and the need for ICU stays. I mean, again, it's the bottom dollar for many hospital systems. And so to avoid long procedures, that is the efficiency of what you do, and then how you take care of the patient afterwards, i.e. they don't need an ICU, because that's kind of high-end real estate. And so if you can get away from that, that's a positive. And so one company that's really trying to do this with ultrasound-guided microsphere cavitated lysis, which is kind of an interesting system, is Sonovascular. And I think that they're doing first-in-man studies now in South America, but I think that may be one of the future ways that we can actually be more efficient and more complete when it comes to thrombus removal. So what to conclude? How to choose something, whatever you have experience with, works for you. It doesn't have to work for me or anybody else on the panel. Just whatever works in your hands, you got to stick with it. Understand the benefits and the potential change to your practice when you start going down the road of a thrombectomy system. How to choose, understand the patient need, know the endpoints. Again, perfection may not be your best friend. And what works. Each is distinct to every operator when it comes to inventory and devices. Become facile with one and up to two, but not all of these. Just get good at one or two of them and comfortable in all aspects of that device as you move forward. Thank you for your attention.